What's up, everybody? Welcome, 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 and welcome to our conversation. Um, if you're just joining right now, my name is Oliver Shaw, keynote speaker, speakers coach, author, and founder. I would love to know which part of the world you're joining us from, and kindly indicate on the comment section. You're watching from YouTube or Facebook. Just kindly indicate which part of the world you're joining us from. I'm so excited to serve you today after a while. Um, I'm excited to be with you, to connect with you tonight after a long time. While we are waiting for other people to join in, I just wanted to let you know I want to give a shout out to the first 10 people that will be showing up and do so indicate which part of the world they're joining us from. Okay, so once you indicate where you're joining us from, I would definitely give you a shout out and we would take it from there. All right, so let's go, guys. Let's go. I'm excited today. I want to talk about something very important that a lot of people don't talk about it. A lot of people don't even want to talk about it, and a lot of people are scared to talk about it. So, guess what? I want to talk about it because it is important. It's definitely going to help somebody out there. It's going to skyrocket. It's going to empower. It's going to uplift. It's going to scold somebody out there who need change, who need transformation, who need to move from thinking to execution, to move from being stuck to being a trailblazer, to move from an underachiever to an overachiever, to move from hopelessness to hope, to move from just dreams and desires and aspirations to brutal execution. Okay, so if that is you, I would love you to just let us know which part of the world you're watching us from, and we are good to go. And we are good to go. So
Let's move.
let's move, buddy. So we are starting in exactly 2 minutes from now. Let's know which part of the world you're joining us from, so we can move. My system is telling me that let's move. So we are moving. So I was listening to a podcast some 2 weeks ago. It was actually on YouTube. Peace. Itimi was interviewing Paul on Wednesday, one of the richest guys from Nigeria in Africa, and it was a very exciting conversation between Peace and Paul. And for those who don't know Paul, on Wednesday, Paul is actually one of the guys who is judging, who is in the panel to judge for the Sharp Nigeria. You know, so Paul said something very powerful. He said, "We live at a time where things happen very fast, and if you're 50 years today, before you notice, just in the flip of the eye, you're gonna be 60 years. If you're 30 years today, before you notice, you're already 40 years. If you're 40 years before you notice, you're already 50 years. So tomorrow is an illusion. The things you say you want to do tomorrow, tomorrow might never come. You know, tomorrow might just never come. So if you have a dream, if you have a project, if you have a plan, you have something you want to do, stop waiting for tomorrow and start making plans right now. And not only making plans, but taking brutal action, because time waits for nobody. Tomorrow you're calling now is your yesterday. Remember, today is your yesterday tomorrow. Okay, this year is your yesterday next year. This week is your yesterday week next week. This month is your May, as we talk right now, is your yesterday month next month. This year, that's the next year you are talking about. And there is power in energy, momentum, and action. So the point is, anytime you have something, you have an idea, you have to start working on it. You know, this is a secret I learned from one of the best coaches in the world, keynote speaker, Tony Robbins. He said something in one of the webinars he had with us. He said something I will never ever forget. Tony said, and I quote, anytime I am in a conversation with somebody and there is an action that I have to take about this meeting, a decision I have to take, a move that I have to take, the first thing I do is that before I drop that call, before I hang over from that conversation, from that call, the first thing I do is that I have taken a decision about that decision we took. I have taken a decision about that action we took. I have taken a move, first move about that action, that decision, that movement, that plan that we already had. The point here is simple. If you have a conversation with somebody, with a client, with a team member, with a family one or loved one, and you agree that you're going to do something the next hour, the next day, the next minute, you have to get your pen and write down what you're doing immediately in the midst of that call. Don't wait to drop the call before you take a decision. Take the decision right now while you're on the call, because there are high chances that you'll forget everything that you decided you want to do in the course of the call. So while you're making the call, be taking notes. While you're making the call, be making decision. While you're making the call, be texting people who are involved in the project, who are involved in in the idea, who are involved in the initiative. Because guess what? If you don't begin doing something immediately, momentum will die, and there will be no energy to execute. There will be no energy to implement. So it is very important to not just stay in your lorry, stay there on your butt, stay there in your comfort zone and keep saying, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You not do it, dude. You're not gonna do it because time waits for nobody. If you keep saying I'm gonna do it, I bet you will not do it. Because guess what? A lot of other things will come and crowd your mind and you won't do it. So why are Bell companies, when I came into the United States, I was asking myself, okay, am I going to do 9 to 5 job? Am I going to work? Am I going to do this? And guess what? Why I came in here, I took the first year of my life in United States, living in very horrible conditions. I was actually, I live in my office for some time. And guess what? I was building a company, a global company where is serving people all around the world right now as I talk. I was building talks. And I could have said that, well, after staying in the United States for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, I'm going to build this company. I could have said that, but I didn't say that. I started doing something immediately. All the organizations, by the grace of God, I have built, they were not built upon procrastination, thinking and saying, I will do tomorrow, because I know tomorrow never comes. And so my challenge for you right now, even as we dive deeper into this conversation, which I believe is definitely going to alter your life and it might change your life, is this. Whatever idea that comes to your mind, even in the course of this conversation, get it down. Ask yourself, how can I execute this? Stop waiting for the right time. Stop waiting for the right people. Stop waiting for the right moment. Stop waiting for the right team, because the right people, the right moment, the right time, the right team will never come. And guess what? The right time, the right moment, the right team, the right everything will always show up when you are on the go. I want to say this again. The right people, the right time, the right environment, the right everything will always show up when you're on the go, not when you fold your arms and you stand and you sit, you're waiting, because nothing like that will ever happen. So my challenge for you is like, you may be listening to this conversation right now, and maybe you're 40 years. Before you notice, you're 50 years. So it is gonna be like just the flip of the coin. You'll be 50 years. You listen to this conversation right now and you're 30 years, and before you notice, you just be 40 years. Whether you like it or not, time doesn't wait for anybody. If you're listening to this conversation, you think that you're still a young man, you're 20. Bro, I was 20 years like yesterday. I was just 21 years, just a few hours ago. And before you notice, I was 30 years. Before I noticed, I was 37 years. Boy, before you notice, I'll be 40 years. Before you notice, 50, 60. And so when I turned 37, something struck me. Oh boy. When I was praying on my birthday, the day to my birthday, I was receiving all the message, happy birthday, Oliver. What was in my mind that like was a tickling time bomb was this? I'll ask myself this question. In 30 years' time, I'll be 67 years. When I look back, what do I want to see that I've done for the next 30 years? And this came at a time when I was privileged to watch great, great, great people around the world, from Nigeria, from Africa, from United States. They were celebrating their 30 years anniversary of ministry, 30-year anniversary of impact, 30-year anniversary of whatever. And I was asking myself, wow, these guys, they started this thing at 30 years. They started at 20 something years. Now I'm 30. Now, what am I studying in 30? That in the next 30 years, I should look behind and say, wow, we're touching millions. We're touching thousands and people around the world. Glory to God. Praise God. What is that thing? And that was my focus. My focus was, what am I going to do in these 30 years? That in the next 30 years, if I look back, I will say, wow, I'm so proud of what I've achieved with my life. I'm proud of what I've achieved with my family. I'm proud of what we have achieved as a community, as a team. What was that thing? And this is what I want to challenge you to do right now, my friend. Thank you, Lucky, Georgette, for watching. Friend, listen to me. Ask yourself this very question I asked myself when I turned 37 years. What do you want to see happen in your life in the next 30 years? If God gives you the grace and if the rapture does not happen, if you have the privilege and the opportunity to live again for 30 years or plus, what do you want to see happen in your life? What do you want to achieve in your life? Ask yourself that question, because that is very pivotal. That is important. That is facing life realities. Okay? That's facing life reality. I had conversations with hundreds and dozens of people here in the United States and all around the world. And I hear women say things like, oh my gosh, I look in my eyes, I already have wrinkles. There are wrinkles on my face everywhere. Now I'm growing older. I don't understand what is happening with my life. Days are just flipping by. Time is just passing. You may be listening to this video right now and you're 50, and before you notice you're getting 55, you're 60, you see wrinkles everywhere in your face. That should not bother you. That is a part of the process. That's transformation. That's happening, and it will definitely happen. But the question you should be asking yourself is, if you're listening to this video right now and you're 30, you're 40, you're even 20, ask yourself this question. In the next 30 years, what do I want to see change? What do I want to achieve in my life? In the next 30 years, what is the transformation I want to experience? What is the shift in my leadership, in my implementation, in my execution abilities I want to see happen in my life? That's what is really important. And that's the question you should be asking yourself. What do you want to see in the next 30 years? Do you want to sit and complain? Because your children will ask you questions. Daddy, what do you do when you had the energy? What do you do when you had the resources? You don't want to be given excuses, okay? You don't want to be given excuses. And excuses would never put food on the table. You have to learn to execute brutally. You have to learn to act irrespective of how you feel, irrespective of where you are. Some people will say, well, I'm in these third world countries here, the government system is poor, leaders are behaving funny. No, that's not an excuse. We still have people right there in the third world countries, and they are executing brutally, they're living their dreams, and they are hitting very hard. So you can't give an excuse, because again, one day you're going to stand in front of God and you're going to be judged. I don't care whether you are a Christian listening or you're a Muslim or a Buddhist, but what I believe is that there is a God who is going to judge us one day. And you will stand in front of him and he will ask you to give an account of the talent, of the resources, of the impact, of the good health, of everything he gave you. What did you do with it? You have to say something about that. You will have to say something about that. So think about that. What are you doing right now with your life? What are you doing with the resources that are given to you? Are you just complaining and whining and whining and whining and blaming your parents, blaming the ecosystem, blaming the government system, blaming the structures, blaming every other thing but yourself? And so I want to charge you to take action, take action, take charge of your life, because the life given to you is a gift, and the gift back to this life is to execute, is to empty yourself here on earth before you exit this world. Like, people are dying every day, and the question you're asking yourself, these people who are dying every day, what becomes of the talent, the resources, the potentials that they were sent with to this world? That is the question that each and every one of us should be asking ourselves. And so I want to discuss very, very important 5 things. What are the 5 things that if you start doing right now, what are the 5 steps that if you start implementing right now, you will definitely have the most amazing life moving forward from today after this video? All right, you will definitely have the most amazing life moving forward if you execute or implement these 5 things I want to share with you. Okay, now This I actually learned this from one of my coaches, Jay Shetty. He was actually in a podcast with Robinson, and they did a very powerful conversation. And when Jay Shetty talks about these five things, they caught my attention, and this was so powerful. That was in the podcast some months ago with me, Robbins. Okay, so the first thing now I'm talking about, what are the 5 steps that can actually help you to live the life of your dream? Okay, despite the challenges, despite the temptation, despite all the hurdles that you're going through right now, what are the 5 things that if you start doing right now, you definitely get the best outcome of your remaining days on earth? So the first thing is what you have to learn. You have to learn. That's the first thing. Number one, learn from your mistakes. Okay, learn from your mistake. One of my friends said, and that's so powerful. He said, you have to learn from the mistakes of your friends, and you have to learn from your own past mistakes. You have to learn from the children. You have to learn from everybody. Learn from the happenings around you. Learn from everybody around you. Learn from the ecosystem. Learn from your government system. Learn from the structures put in place. Learn from children. Learn from adults. Learn from teachers. Learn from your leaders. Learn from every other person. And above all, learn to not make the mistakes that your friends have made in the past, the mistakes that you made in the past. Learn and grow, because there is power in learning. And for you to effectively learn, you have to learn not to talk much than you hear. So you have to learn in every circumstances. Learn when you're driving. Learn when you're in your home. Learn when you're wherever in your workplace. Learn when you don't have a job. Learn when you're looking for a job. Learn. And how do you learn? That's a question everybody be asking right now. You learn by asking in curious question. You learn by being inquisitive, asking question. Why is this thing happening this way instead of this way? Why is the world moving this direction right now instead of this way? Why are things happening the way they're happening? That's how you learn. You learn by asking questions, being curious, being inquisitive. What is happening? You don't just stay blinded to what is happening around the world. You need to open up your spirit, open up your mind, and ask questions that can lead you to discoveries. That's how we learn. That's how we learn. And then people will always tell you stuff. You have not just accepting things the way they are coming, but you have to question everything that happens to you. And that is how you learn. So, number one, learn. After learning, what next? Experiment. It's going to be very chaotic and stupid when you learn and you don't practice what you're learning. It is very, very unprofessional and unnecessary to spend time learning how to do computer programming while you are never going to try to build a computer application, try to build a website. Is not making sense at all. So when you learn, you have to experiment. That is where real change begins to happen. Things begin to happen when you are experimenting what you've learned. There is no point going to school for 7 years, or how many, whatever number of years, as a medical doctor, as gynecology, or as a specialist, and then you are never practicing what you learned in the med school. There's no point learning how to speak and not speaking, right? There is no point learning how to drive and not driving. I remember I learned how to drive basically what I learned driving when I was 29 years. After learning how to drive, I never had a car. I spent like 2 to 3 years, 4 years even before I ever got my first car. And that was crazy. And within the time I learned to drive, I never knew how to drive. I was very, very anxious. Anytime I had an opportunity to drive, I would want to seize that opportunity, even though I never knew how to drive very well. But it was because I have learned how to drive, folks. It was because I've learned how to drive, friend. It was because I've learned how to drive. So what's the point in learning how to drive that you will never drive? All right. So when you learn something, you got to experiment it. You got to try it. You don't have to be scared. All right. You don't have to be afraid. Just try it. So you have to find yourself in an environment that can enable you to try the things that you've learned. That can enable you to try the things you will learn in friend. That can enable you to try the things that you know. Because there is no need knowing why you can't execute, why you can't experiment, why you can't implement. The essence of knowledge is to practice, is to deploy it. There is no need having knowledge that you cannot execute, you cannot deploy it, it cannot help somebody, it cannot serve somebody. The essence of education is to apply it. So if you cannot apply what you know, you don't know it. So the only way to prove that you can apply it is when you know it. So number one, learn. Number two, experiment. Then number three, perform. I love this. You cannot perform what you have not experimented. You can only have the audacity, the authority to perform after you have experimented. And guess what? The purpose of experimentation is to try to see what is working, what is not working. So when you're performing right now, you come with confidence. Like when I came into this conversation, I was not doubting what I'm going to be saying. I was not doubting myself. I was not doubting the platform I'm using. Guess what? The platform I'm using, I bought the platform. It is a premium platform. Okay. And myself, I have been testing this thing. I've tried this thing and it worked for me. And I believe that if I share this thing with you, if you practice them, they'll work for you. So that's the essence of experimentation. And if I never had experimented everything I'm sharing with you here, I could have come here to do this performance, whatever. So the essence of experimenting is to master the skill, is to gain the confidence, is to get clarity so that you can actually perform. Okay. So we have number one is learning, number two is experimenting, number three is performing. And guess what? Number four is getting very interesting. Number four is actually what we call struggle. Struggle. And this is when I want to introduce the concept of the DIP. DIP. Deep. Deep is one of my favorite words. And deep is not just standing for an acronym or for a syllabus or for a grammatical word, but for something bigger than all of that. What is deep? Deep is a very powerful expression. And some of the most successful people in the world that you can ever think about, people like Abraham Lincoln, Nelson Mandela, Elon Musk, Tony Robbins, all of these great people, they went through the deep. Now, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, all of these great athletes, okay, they went through the deep before they became that successful, that great in performing, in execution, and in scoring. What is the deep, therefore? The deep is that state of being, that state of life, that state of existence where you saw what you want and you know that you have to go through some pain to get it. And so the deep is going through the funnel, feeling all the pains, the embarrassment, the ridicule, the challenges, the difficulties, but still pressing on to take hold of that which you saw. That's the deep. And so, if you want to become the best of the best in the world, in whatever industry, in whatever field, in whatever area of life, you must learn to go to the deep. You must learn to embrace the deep. And this is a concept that I actually break it down detailedly and expatiate on this when I'm doing some coaching programs with my clients or public speakers. The deep is what everybody whoever desires to become great must go through. All right. So I went through my own deep. I launched my speaking career in 2010. And from 2010 to 2022, I never made up to $1,000 from speaking. 12 good years. 12 good years. What do you think was keeping me going despite the hurdles, the ridicules, the embarrassment, the pain I had to go through to endure that transformation I was striving and yearning for as a professional, as a keynote speaker, as a coach, as a builder of platform? It was a deep. So I was moving from one pain to another, from one struggle to another, from one challenge to another. Financial challenges, difficulties moment, very difficult moments I had in my career. But I did not give up because I saw something. I saw something. My dream was to become a global speaker, a thought leader in the speaking industry, not in Africa, but all around the world. That's what I saw. And I was pressing forward to take hold of that dream, of that picture I saw, despite the odds, despite the challenges, despite the pain, despite the difficulties. That's deep. So if you want to become the best in the world in anything you want to do, you have to embrace the deep, my friend. And that's the deep. And this is what Jay Shetty will say, struggling stage of life. And many people have no idea, they have no clue, they have no perception of how close they are to success before they give up. That's why we used to say, if you are thinking of giving up after you're putting all the effort, the work, the investment, the resources, Ask yourself this question before you give up. If you must give up, why did I start? Yes, why did I start? Or why do you start it? Why did I start it? Because if you don't know why you started, then you obviously give up when every other person is giving up. But if you know why you started, oh boy, even the caterpillar cannot pull you out. Even the worst of events or the worst of the happenings cannot take you away from that because you know what brought you here, because you know why you started. And so that's why I don't encourage people to just jump into things, into careers, into areas they want to operate on. Why they don't have a strong why? Because if you don't have a strong why, you will give up. When challenges will hit you, when the storm of life will hit you, when difficulties will bounce on you and you will have only one option to let go of that thing you've been holding on to, that is when you will know that you're called to do this thing. That's when you will know that this is what I meant to do in my life, and I perish, like Esther would say. That's when you know that this is really the thing I want to do. And that is exactly what I experienced in my life. I went through pain, difficulties, moment, challenges, but I was like, I perish, I perish. And that is the person I'm talking to tonight. I'm talking to somebody who has seen a picture of where he or she want to be in the next 2 years, in the next 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. And he is pressing forward to take hold of that personality, to take hold of that career, to take hold of that thing that he saw in the next 30 years because he believed that this is what I was meant to do. I perish, I perish. Until you get to that point in your life where you can say, I perish, I perish. I die, I die. Whatever want to happen, let it happen. But this is what I have chosen to do in my life. Until you get to that point, you are still experimenting life. And you were not meant to experiment life. You were meant to live life. Your mission here on earth is very specific. Make the world better than you met. That's your purpose. That's your mission. And it could be as an engineer, as a mechanic, as a speaker, as a coach, as a pilot, as an engineer, as a doctor, whoever, teacher. That's your mission. Make the world better than you met. And until you have a picture of that thing you have to do to make the world better than you met, and you stick to that thing, irrespective of the pain, the challenges, the struggle, the difficulties you have to encounter, I'm sorry, you are still joking with your life. You are still joking with your life. You are still experimenting your life. And so you need to come to a point of conclusion, to a consensus with yourself, with the universe, with the world. That, you see this thing? This is what I was meant to do, and I'll do it. And I'm going to not let any distraction pull me away. And any distraction or any form of distraction or anybody who wants to distract me, I'll fight the person. I'll fight the person with all my strength, with all my life, with all my energy, with every little bit of ounce of energy in me. When you get to that point where you can identify the protagonist, where you can identify the villains, and you know that this is the villain, and I'm going to fight you because you are fighting this dream, you're fighting this vision, you're fighting my mission on earth. That is a point of no return. That's a point of no return. At that point, you can either get it done or you get it done. No two options, no plan B. And so, what's my point? My point is that you may be at that stage right now of the deep where you're struggling in a dream, in a vision. You've been fighting and working so hard day and night, 7/7, 24/7, every time to make it work. I just want to encourage you that you have no idea how closer you are to winning. You have no clue how closer you are to winning, friend. And I just want to let you know you don't have to give up. Remember, you have learned, you have experimented, you have performed. At this stage 4, you are actually doing what we call striving. And before you notice, something will happen. And this is the most challenging of all the stages. That stage of struggling. At times, 99% of the people, they give up at this stage of struggling. And they have no idea. And again, there is no way you can proceed to the next stage if you don't go through this pain that you're going through. You know, Some people need to really listen to this, because at times God allowed you to go through some tough moments in life, some difficulties in life, because of the training that He wants you to get before you get to where He is taking you to. I'm serious, because there is a place that you can get there, that if you don't have adequate and sufficient training, you will crash. Within the first week, you will crash. Within the first month. Do you know what it means to serve people with your gift globally? Like, you are talking to people from different cultures, backgrounds every single day, week, month, people across the world. It has to do with high level of integrity, high level of execution, high level of excellence. How do you think you can be able to execute at that level where you're serving the world with your gift if you have not been adequately trained to be able to meet that need? Tell me. No, let's be honest. Tell me. So at times you should be even thankful for that pain, for the struggle you're going through right now, because that is building some brain cells in you, friend. All the pain, the struggle, that's the best training methodology. That's the best syllabus that you got to be able to execute to get to where you are heading to. And so at times, there's some pains you have to be really thankful for them. There's some struggles you're going through right now that you have to really thank God and be so awesome and appreciative of these struggles. Because if you don't go through that to learn the lessons that God wants you to learn, you will never get where you're heading to. I mean, there's challenges I went through in my life when I was building my speaking career in Africa, that I think that if I did not go through those challenges, oh, only God knows what could have happened. Only God knows. So when I look back right now, all I can say is, Father, thank you for the challenges you exposed me to. Thank you for the people you used to, to bring me to the walls where I had just one option than two options, to quit or to continue. But I choose not to quit. I choose to continue. Because it is until when you arrive where you're heading to that you know that some things you call them disadvantages, some things you call them misachievements, some things you call them bad things, they were actually meant for your good. That was the only way you could be trained. That was the only way you could be a teacher, a torture. That was the only way you could be equipped, you could be empowered, you could be taught. And if you run away from the training, you run away from your destiny. Because there is no way you can escape that pain if you want to make it with that gift that you came on earth to give to the world. What challenge are you going through right now? What pain are you going through right now? What difficulties are you going through right now? What is that embarrassment you're going through right now? Take it as a curriculum. Learn it, apply it, execute it. That's number 4. We talked about learning, experimenting. Number 2, we talked about number 3, performing. Number 4 was actually struggle, and that's why I brought in the concept of the deep. So a lot of people are struggling in lives, in their careers, in their families, in different ways. But see that as a learning, see that as a classroom, and learn from each and every aspect of that struggle. Because tomorrow you have to tell those stories, and if you don't go through that pain, you will not have any story to tell, and you will not have anybody to inspire it. Think about it that way. And finally, stage 5. Stage 5 is of course everybody's favorite. Stage 5 is thrive. 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 You know, there's a difference between striving and thriving. Striving is struggling. Thriving is executing brutally and triumphantly taking over territories. That is thriving. So stage 5 is thriving. If you're watching this thing, I would love you to type on the comment section, thrive. Yes, thrive. So what is striving? Striving is actually the last stage, as you've seen in the 5 stages. And striving is when you start getting results. You know, yesterday I was watching a YouTube video of one of my favorite coaches, Myron Gordon, and Myron said something very powerful. If they give you 3 million US dollars, okay, and the another option is they'll give you 5 cents. And the idea behind the 5 cents is that every day, every after day, one day, the 5 cents will have to doubled. Okay, it has to double and triple every as a day. So we have 30 minutes, 30 days. So you have the option of getting 3 million US dollars as a gift. And then you have the option of getting 5 cents as a gift. You have to choose either 3 million US dollars or 5 cents. So if you choose 3 million US dollars, as the days are getting closer to the 30th day, the 3 million will remain 3 million. But if you choose 5 cents, the 5 cents will be doubling and tripling every single day. Okay. And then when he did the mathematics, for those who choose the 5 cents, is at the end of the day, instead of them having the 3 million in 30 days, they had like 10 million plus in 30 days. Because the 5 cents was multiplying, they were making effort, it was multiplying. But the person who picked $3 million, it was not multiplying, it was rather reducing because they were spending and spending and spending, and then they never knew how to make it. What's my point? My point is that in this life, the struggles you go through right now, they are building brain cells in you. They are empowering, equipping you, and helping you to be able to understand what life is actually and to make wise decisions, not stupid decisions, and to be able to take you to where you are so that you can have some lessons to teach other people. You can have some stories to tell how you overcame. Okay? That is the importance of life. So if everything was given to you on a platter of gold, you will mess up. I made a post on the African Born group. You know, African Born is a community of Africans in America and all of that. So I did a post. I said, quick success can destroy your future. There are some people that just want to succeed overnight. You know, that's dangerous, very dangerous. That's why people that they win TSA, they win lottery, winning money like so much money at the blue, they always end up messing up. Tell me anybody who has ever won a lottery, who has ever won TSA or any of these gambling games and all of that, and who has been successful after 5 years, after 10 years, after 15 years, after 20 years, after 25 years, after 30 years. Show me anybody. Is you know why? It's because these things you cannot just get it overnight and keep it and maintain it. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that, friend. You have to work for it. You have to work for it. You have to work for it. I believe that if my parents gave me everything I wanted, I needed, man, I could have just sat back and watched how the world was changing. I could have contributed in making the world a better place. I could have totally depended on them and as they figured out things for me. And this is also a message to parents watching me right now. Don't give your children at times everything they need. When you give them everything they need, you're destroying their lives. You're destroying their future. At times, when your children come to you asking for stuff, tell them to figure it out. Guide them to get what they want, but don't give them. Okay? I think the best gift I can give to my kids is not money, it's not whatever, it's not anything, but probably just teaching them how to get things themselves, not giving them stuff, but how they can get things. Because I think many parents have destroyed their children, and their children are messing up in life, addiction everywhere, frustration, because they gave them everything. I'm not kids that at times I had to figure out my school fees. At times I trekked to school almost every day of my life. In secondary school, I was dreaming for school fees, I was dreaming for textbooks, I was dreaming for a lot of stuff. I had to at times go and figure out things. And that was a training. I remember when I was in Form 5, one of the Saturdays in GBHS at Tiala somewhere in Cameroon, in West Africa, on Saturday, we had a class, economic class, and that was when the person I was staying would give me fish pie to go and sell. We had a revision class preparing to write about O levels, and then on that very day, I was given fish pie to go and sell. You know why? Because I was not living with my biological parents. The only way that the person helping me could help me was if I sell fish pie for her. Okay, so I had to sell fish pie to be able to raise money so she can be able to pay my school fees. And so my economic madam saw me selling fish pie. Next day on Monday, I went to school and she was like, Oliver, how are you? How was the business? I saw you selling fish pie. And some of my classmates were laughing at me that I was selling fish pie on a Saturday where we had revision, whatever. So at the end of the day, I learned to do things the hard way. I knew that if I don't go sell this fish pie, because Saturday was the only day I was having to help my sponsor. And so if I don't help her, she will not be able to help me. So it was 50-50. You give, I give. You give and take, I give and take. So that's partnership. So at the end of the day, I sold my fish pie. I wrote my, that's how I went through secondary form 5 and all of that, wrote my exams, passed, made it. So all of that taught me. So I was not the best student. I was not the most brilliant, but I was not the last. I was not the first. I was somewhere in the middle. Guess what? Why in school, every other person learning how to pass in 11th grade, that was all my focus. I was learning how life was working, how life operate, how I could be able to take the lessons I'm learning. So it was a little bit like I was a C student. I was not an A student. I was a C student, and B between C and I was learning business. Why in school? I was learning how the economy operates, how people think, how the world system operates, how it works. That's why I was doing all of these things, and that trained my mind to think out of the box. Like I wrote one of my books, to think out of the box. So the point here is that for you to try, not you don't things don't have to be given to you. You have to figure out, you have to work out things. Okay? You have to be that kind of person that if they land you in any part of the world, you should survive. So the question I have for you is, if you land in any continent of the world, in any country of the world, despite the challenges, the economic turmoil that's happening right now, will you be able to survive? Will you be able to survive right there in that country? What skills do you have? What training do you have? What empowerment do you have? What resources do you have? What technology do you have closer to you that you can be able to use it to scale anywhere you go around the world? That's my challenge for you. Because the world will not get better. It's getting worse every day. And people who will get ahead are people who have been training themselves to fit, to adapt, to be flexible. Just as I talk to you right now, the Spirit Airline, one of the main airlines that was having some of the most affordable economic tickets in the United States, is shut down. Over 70,000 people are going home, jobless, pilots, cabin crews. Right now, as I talk, companies are downsizing every single day, employing AI agents to handle operations for them. People are losing jobs at the speed of light as I talk right now. And so the question for you is, are you a victim to the changes or you're a victor to the changes? If you're a victim, you're running behind time. If you're a victor, you have learned to adapt, you learn to follow the patterns. Tony Robbins talks about patterns, very powerful. 3 things you have to learn now. You have to learn, number one, pattern recognition. If you don't see what has happened in the world, what is happening in the world, if you don't study what has happened, the trend of how things are moving, if you don't get that knowledge and start acting on it, then you're not taking your future serious. You must be able to be curious and asking questions. Yesterday, we were talking about computer literate. Today, we're not talking about computer literate. We're talking about AI user friendly. Tomorrow, it will not be AI user friendly, it's something else. And so, are you adapting to the changes, or you're just watching how the changes are taking place? And that is what actually brings transformation. You cannot thrive at level 5 if you're clueless about what is happening in the world in terms of AI, in terms of job openings and job closings, right? Because I'm telling you, friend, it will not get better. It will only get complex and complicated. So you have to arm yourself, empower yourself so well. And right now, as I talk, if you're behind in artificial intelligence or AI, you have to tighten your seatbelt and start learning AI, because that is the next disruption. That's the next big thing that has happened, that's taking over the world. So your business, your operations, are you AI friendly? Are you integrating AI tools, agents in your operations? Because if you are not doing that, irrespective of what you think about AI, the world will override you. Things will not work so well for the good of your business. So you have to think out of the box. Stop sitting around and comforting yourself and deceiving yourself. Challenge yourself. Get out there, figure out things, ask questions, network with people, connect with people, ask questions, create new friends. So we talked about 5 steps you can use to actually make your life more better. The first one is list, learn. Learn from every situation. Learn from the mistakes of your friend. Learn from your past mistakes. Learn all the time. Learn all the time. And then number two, the second thing we talked about was that after learning, you have to be able to experiment. Okay, learn, experiment. You don't just learn and keep it for yourself. You have to try what you've learned. Even you don't get it for the first time, keep on trying, because the purpose of experimenting is to perfect the skills so you can be able to do number three, perform. Now, when you're performing, it is becoming exciting. You come in with authority all the time wherever you're expected to do that. And then after performing, what happens next? You struggle. You struggle to get result. And that is what I call the deep. You know, that you struggle, you learn, you go through pain, rejections, pain in execution, embarrassment, all of that friction is preparing you for the final next level, which is thriving. And so I'm also encouraging parents to be coaches to their children and not to be providers all the time to their children. Okay, there's a way you can guide the child to get something instead of just giving it to the child. I love what uh, um um late Dr. Miles Moro used to say. He said when a child comes to him for answer or question about something, like, "Hey, daddy, what do you think about this?" And then he would turn back the question to the child and say, "What are your thoughts?" Like, "Daddy, I want to learn how to do this. What do you think?" And then when the child proposes or gives his own or her own answer, he works from what the child is giving him. He don't just give answers to the child because the thing he knows. There's a way you can be a coach to your children, to your siblings. And for those who know me, I'm not the kind of person I just give stuff to people. I don't give stuff to people. I want to see what you can do. I want to see how you think before I can give stuff for you, before I can collaborate with you. So if you come for me for to give you stuff, I will never give you stuff. I just want to see, do you have the capacity to handle the stuff you're asking for? Do you have the right mindset, the right skill set to be able to handle that? That's what I like to accompany young people get where they are going to, rather than giving them stuff. I don't have stuff to give to anybody. But I love to accompany people to get to their dreams by challenging them, by guiding them as a team, as they put resources together. That's how I've been trained. That's how I was brought up. And that is exactly what I believe is working for me. So if it work for me, it can work for you as well. So, friend, that's the message I got for you today. If this inspires you, bless the name of Jesus, bless God. If this is something that you think that somebody need to hear, feel free to share. If you're led, share with somebody who needs to hear this. Um, don't just listen. Make sure you take action. My name is Oliver. I'm your friend, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.